good.
Yasuo's good in TFT.
Yasuo's pretty good in
there.
TFT. But Yasuo, I think he's coming in the next patch. But I heard that he's gonna be unplayable.
Yeah, probably.
Oh wait, no, he's just unplayable now.
Oh.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Runeterrable Radio. I am your host, Blevins. With me, as always, is Saucy Mailman. What's up, buddy?
Oh, that's me. What's up?
I'm getting gradually lazier and less creative with the openings, but we interact with chat and we just let it happen. And if
but it's fine.
It's true.
We can get lazy. You know why?
Why is that?
Because we're old now. We're on episode 30.
Episode 30, the podcast.
So for the rest of the show, we're geriatric.
Yep. If podcast episodes are kind of like years, right? So that's kind of. Yeah, so now me and the podcast are the same age, aka a million.
Yeah,
we're
ancient
both
and
ancient
unplayable.
esports. True. I mean, exactly. I have done other podcasts that have gone fewer episodes than this, so
yeah,
we're not babies anymore.
I wonder the like actual like average of like when podcasts give up, because I'm sure it's like in the single digits. I know YouTube videos, like the average is like 5 videos before most content creators quit. So I wonder what it is in podcast episodes. It's probably 3. They realize it's a lot of work.
If I had to guess, it's 3 sounds about right, because it's like because this is the progression. It's high hopes, you have a great idea, you hit up your buddy on Discord or whatever other platform, and you're like, so I want to do this podcast. I hear Blevins and Saucy, they do their podcast. They sound like they have the best time ever. And they both have to be quadrillionaires from all this podcast money, right? Yeah. So let's just jump on it. Joe Rogan is a multi-millionaire probably, so why can't I be?
Yeah, I want to start this broccoli podcast. There's not a lot of market. It seems fresh and new.
Right.
And that's the title of the podcast also, is fresh and new.
Oh, I thought the podcast was going to be called I want to start this broccoli podcast. It's fresh and new.
That's the whole thing. I want to start, and anyone listening, feel free to take that concept, because I, Saucy Mailman, am not going to make this broccoli podcast.
Yeah, I already canned my broccoli podcast. It was a canned broccoli podcast, actually.
Yeah, which is very common. I don't know. Other than broccoli, you want to talk about Legends of Runeterra?
I'd feel bad for any new listeners here. I apologize if you're not quite ready for this level of banter at this early venture of the show, but I swear we're going to be talking about Legends of Runeterra sometime soon. You can tell we're not. There's no patch this week, so we've got some wiggle room. We can talk about stuff. We can talk about whatever.
Blevins and I, you would think it's the saddest thing, right? Because Blevins and I are friends. Obviously, that's why we do this together. Neither of us ever get to hang out or spend any time together because we're both so busy. So the only time we get to hang out is when we podcast.
This is
so
right before the podcast.
Forever before the show, just like bullshitting. And so right now we're just hanging out, just two buddies drinking out of straws.
Yep, this is the hangout part of the show. And we're happy to bring you in as well. But we do actually have some stuff to talk about with Legends of Runeterra. The first thing is I'm just gonna rip the Band-Aid off. So I did a video, a patch review video for Giant Slayer. We talked about the patch notes on the show last week, and we just talked like sort of offhand, and we talked with a number of people about the patch, and man, I think I was wrong on just about everything in the patch. I don't know if I've ever been so wrong about the impact of a patch.
Yeah, it's a very, so I'll be completely straightforward. I I haven't played a whole lot of ladder because all I did was play Gauntlet, pretty much nonstop, constantly while it was around.
Yeah.
And so the Gauntlet, quote unquote, I'm using air quotes, you can't see them, meta was a lot different than the ladder meta.
Yeah.
But I did get a day or two of ladder in, and holy bleeped expletive word, has the meta completely changed. There it is.
Yeah.
This has been a patch that has even caught the attention of some Riot folks who have said some things. But yeah, it is a thing. That's all I can say.
Yeah. So you bring up Gauntlet, and I was even wrong about that. So I thought Gauntlet, I'm like, play it. I'm like, not that. I was thinking of that it was going to be more, it was going to feel more like arenas, or not arenas, sorry, Tavern Brawl in Hearthstone, where it's like, I'm going to do it the one time to get my pack, and then I'm never going to play it. I did 5 different gauntlets, and I didn't do 5 trying to get the icon. I got the icon on the first one. Like, my first run was a 7-win run, and then I immediately ran it back and ran another one. So I don't know what it. I mean, I think it's just you get to have a nice sample size of a deck in one sitting. You don't have to, like, it's, even though, yes, I could play 7 games on ladder and see what the win rate is and track it, which I do. It's like, I want to just see, can I actually rattle off at least win-loss with the deck? Right? Can I play a deck to the point where I won't get 2 losses in a row? And there's like no pressure. There's no pressure at all. Yeah. And there's something about that, even though, like, even when I'm playing in Master, after I've already gotten Master, and I don't care about my rank at all. My rank being 1,000,000 in Master, or maybe number 1 would matter, because I would definitely be bragging all the time about it. But, like, my actual rank in Master has no impact whatsoever on me. Yeah, there's still, like, some amount of pressure there, and I don't know, like, I care about those games a little bit for some reason, even though I don't care if I end at rank 4,000 or rank, 800, which I did. I did top 1,000, by the way. There's weird flex, but okay. For some reason, playing on ranked, there's that added bit of pressure. And, like, the first gauntlet run, maybe at, like, my 7th game, I had a little bit of pressure, but really not really. And I don't know. I was not expecting the gauntlet to be as fulfilling as it ended up being for me.
Yeah, I was also in the same boat. So, Gauntlet came out, and a bunch of people were like, "You're gonna play it?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll probably play it once or twice. It seems just like a thing you can do." I loved it. I had so much fun. Like, it was such a relaxing experience, and especially as, like, streaming, I was just able to, like, kick back, chill with chat, play dumb stuff. It was funny because, like, someone's like, "You gotta at least try hard and, like, get a your 7-win or whatever." So I forgot what I quote unquote try hard. Oh, it was like Keg Nivea. I actually cared, and I was like, this is dumb. So I just played a bunch of bad fizz decks. 7 wins every time. Like, my first 7 wins was just with mono fizz, and then I played, like, TF fizz, and I did, like, Jinx fizz. Nice. I played a lot of fizz decks.
Nice.
But it was just, like, it was a cool experience, and I'm interested to see how they go with the rule changes and whatnot coming up.
Yeah, I think that's going to be even cooler, because the other thing is that it is a bit of it's not a lot of I think it's less pressure and pressure to perform than ranked, but it's not nothing, which normal games can feel like a lot of time. If you're just playing normal, people will just, like, if you have an early start whatsoever, like, if you're trying a new deck, like a fizz deck or something, and you're getting, like, something is happening, like you're building the combo or of some sort, people will just concede if they start losing, right? It was the same thing in 100%. It was the same thing in Magic, where it's like there's literally 0 consequence, even in, like, there's not really consequence or benefit in Gauntlet, but there's something there, even if it's minimal. So it's like, it's almost like a hedge between, like, you aren't playing super hyper competitive, like cutthroat, like I absolutely want to get the win every time in ranked, but you're also not playing the, well, if I don't get my combo off on turn 3, I'm just going to concede and try to run it again. At least not as much. Like I don't think I came across anyone that was just like, well, guess I lose and just concede in Gauntlet.
Turn 1, you see your opponents playing Noxus, PNZ, no champions, and you just concede in normal like I do every single time.
Exactly. Exactly.
I will say my favorite experience in Gauntlet, I took the Infinite Puff Caps deck.
I saw that game live. It was awesome.
Got 6 wins. I lost my 7. I was very sad. But I had like the best opponents. They let me do the combo every single time. And it was funny. Like we put 870 some Puff Caps one dude's deck, and he just let me do it. And I'm like, this would never happen on ladder. No one does that. It was great.
Yeah, there was like an unspoken code there, which is really cool. And I mean, Singleton I think is going to be fun, at least for a bit. It might be like, I've never really been, I mean, in EDH or Commander, as you whippersnappers call it now in Magic, the Highlander or Singleton format makes sense and is kind of fun because it's built around a commander. The fact that there's one of each card isn't the cool part about Commander. It's just something that flows into the theme of the format. So I'm not like super excited about Singleton, although I guess I kind of am, because I think we're obviously going to be seeing a lot more like tier 2, tier 3 cards in the decks, even if you want to make like, you know, Ezreal Karma or whatever, like, or I mean,
you have to put some crap in there.
You need to put some crap in there, and you only get one Ezreal and one Karma, right? Yeah. So maybe actually, now that I'm thinking about it more, Singleton's probably pretty effing sweet. I lied. Yeah. It's gonna be sweet.
We're gonna see a lot of 6 champion decks for sure.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna be pretty sweet. And what you do? So every person who's small brain is gonna be playing some Pursuit of Perfection garbage variant.
Yep.
What you do is just play something that beats Pursuit of Perfection garbage variants, and then you just win all of your games. Day 1, it's gonna be 90% Pursuit of Perfection.
Yep. And I'm gonna try to build some sort of janky aggro deck. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, in which you should be able to. Like, there's a lot of, I mean, there's inefficient cheap cards.
Oh yeah,
there's a lot of cheap cards.
Oh, there's definitely cards to play. Like, I mean, I know this just from playing, like, starting new accounts, like my EU account. Like, before I could build the aggro deck, it's like, well, I'm playing some stinkers in here, but it's like, man, Captain Farron, sign me up.
Elusive Poro, let's go. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So Singleton, I think, the more I'm thinking about it, the cooler it is in and of itself, but I also think it's a first step towards what it could be. Like, they could really push it, I think. And like, I mean, you think about it, Saucy, like, if we take away the programming aspect of it, the game engine, the game engine, not the like the technical side of it, the game engine itself could feasibly do something kind of like EDH, where like you pick a champion and your champion is your commander or something like that. Like, I don't know how fun it would be right now, but I think like that type of
down the road,
that type of thing is possible within the like parameters of the game itself. So I think that could be really cool.
There's some cool, interesting format ideas. We've been in our Discord. What's the Discord again, Blevins?
It is discord.me/Runeterrable Radio.
Oh yeah, that's it. We were coming up with some formats of our own for the labs coming out today in chat. It was, I mean, the format we came up with is not happening. But we.
What is it? What is it?
So longtime friend and listener Flendo was complaining again about stuff. As he does, but he said that all Noxus units should have Overwhelm. It's the thing he said, and I'm like, you know what? All Shadow Isles units should have like a life drain effect to them. So we came up with a format where every single unit from a certain faction has an ability,
has an identity.
So then it turned into like everything from PNZ has quick attack. Everything from was it Shadow Isles was like last breath, draw a card, stuff like that.
Oh, oh my god.
Yeah, it would be outrageous, but you give like it at first it seemed really like trash, but then we're thinking if everything's overpowered, nothing's overpowered, right?
Right. Probably. That's actually pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Ooh, you know it could be a cool format? Momir. Did you ever play Momir in Magic?
Yeah.
Okay, so Momir it's based off, it doesn't matter where it came from. Basically what you do is your deck is nothing but land, so it's kind of like Legend of Runeterra. So every turn you get mana. So in Runeterra, you probably just wouldn't have any cards in hand. You would just gain your mana, and that would be it. But every turn, you can, once per turn, spend mana. And if you spend, let's say you have 3 mana, you spend 3 mana, you use this ability that everyone had, this like global ability, and it will make a random creature that costs the amount that you spent. So if you spend 3 mana, it will make a token that is a copy of, or a token copy of a random 3 cost, anyone in the game. So it's like every I mean, they could automate it. So like on turn 3, you just automatically get a 3-drop, or you just press the button and it gives you the maximum. So like you could do something, or maybe you can make decks or whatever. But
that'd be interesting though.
It's fun. Those are fun to do because it's like, when you first start playing, it's like, oh, this is just so random, and you get lucky. And there's definitely some of that. Like, it's like, sometimes your opponent just gets super lucky, or you get super lucky. But it's also like pretty skill testing. Like once you figure out like what's good, and like you need to actually, it's like doing 7 is just way better than 8, or doing 5 is really good because you get Garen and all these champions. Yeah, so
I just thought of a format.
Ooh, let's hear it.
So this is my lab idea that I think I'm gonna send like 48.5% of our listener base into a coma by saying that. So the name of it, I thought of the name first.
Okay.
It's Carmageddon.
I already hate it.
Double casts.
Ooh, never mind. I love it. It's awesome.
Carmageddon. Every
son of a bitch, I'm in.
For everyone. That would be awesome.
Ooh, yeah, Carmageddon.
Riot, make Carmageddon a thing, please.
Yeah. Also, if for legal reasons you can't make something that we came up with, we'll delete the episode, so just so that it can exist.
Yeah. So this episode isn't. You don't want to screw around the rest of the show.
The rest, you mean?
Because Carmageddon is happening, guaranteed.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. That is the most obvious thing I've ever heard. Speaking of brains, though. This leads.
So ready for this transition.
This brings us into something. So, one of the decks that is running rampant right now on ladder, in tournament, everywhere, and has been for a while now, is Weimer. So, Vi, Heimerdinger, PNZ, Ionia deck, and before we talk about the actual deck itself and why it's annoying to play against, I want to say this, and I got to give credit where credit is due. Casanova came up with this name, and it is the best name for a deck I've heard so far. And he tweeted it out, and it is criminally under retweeted. So go to @CasanovaHots and make sure you retweet. Go down, look for this tweet and retweet it. It is, instead of calling Weimer, call it Pinky and the Brain. Think about it for a second. Think about it.
Okay.
Pink hair. Heimerdinger, the brain. Pinky and the brain. It's
real good.
It's chef's kiss. It's great.
I do like that.
Yeah, so go to Casanova's Twitter and retweet that. While you're there,
like deck names that they have to like say more than half a syllable.
That's fine. I don't care. So on Friday, Casanova and I casted the Giant Slayer Fight Night Legends, the first one, which was really fun and was a really great tournament. You can check out the VODs and whatnot, but I won't talk about that tournament. What I want to say is a conversation that came up while we were casting is that the community has not been super great with coming up with names. It's like,
no, they've been hot trash.
Yeah. It's called Kinku Elusives because there's elusives in the deck, and you're playing Kinku Lifeblade, or you're playing Kinku
Wayfinder.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Original. Let's call the Viheimer deck Vimer. Get it? Because Viheimer.
Yeah.
It's like
yep.
let's call Shadow Isles Bilgewater Nautilus. Let's call that let's call that sea monsters because get it there's sea monsters in the deck.
It's garbage.
I took a stand, and my tipping point was when this new deck. I knew we were going to talk about Vimer, but I'm transitioning again. This new deck that kind of came out of nowhere with the new meta. This Braum Anivia deck, Shadow Isles, Freljord deck. Control the board, win with Anivias. A lot of times there's rekindlers involved. You've seen it if you played it all in the past 2 days. People were calling it Branivia, and I was like,
that's the worst thing I've heard. That can go to hell.
Casanova told me, he's like, oh, it's the Branivia deck, and I had to stop.
That is not acceptable.
I stopped in the middle of the cast and was like, I said it. I said, that is unacceptable. You can check the VOD. And then we were riffing, and someone in chat said something, and Casanova goes, oh, we can call it bald bird, because Braum is bald and Anivia's a bird. I'm like, oh, that's closer. We'll workshop in it. And then maybe 5 minutes later, like in the middle of a cast, when he was in the middle of a sentence, I go, bald eagle. We're calling it bald eagle. He's bald. Anivia, not technically an eagle, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be a perfect.
Could be.
It makes sense. It's a riff off of something. So bald eagle.
Bromnivia.
It wasn't even Bromnivia. It was Branivia.
Branivia.
That is the word. It's terrible.
I threw up in my mouth.
I couldn't. No. It's a terrible name. But now you've got Bald Eagle. From that, we've got Bald Eagle. But speaking of Bald Eagle, have you played with or against that deck at all, Saucy? Have you come across it?
I actually have not.
Okay.
I've heard a lot about it. My ladder experience has been about 92% Vimer. That's pretty much literally all I come against at all in any way whatsoever. Oh wait, no, just kidding. There's 80% that and 20% elusive X whatever the hell.
Elusive other thing. Yeah, so right now the rock paper scissors of the format, at least as far as I'm seeing, is rock is elusives and or elusives, and I'll lump in Noxus aggro now, which is another thing that I got wrong. I did not think that the 1 health to Darius, though I don't know if the 1 health to Darius is really impacting it. I think the 1 health to Basilisk Rider, however, was like
suddenly insane,
which is crazy because I literally purposefully omitted it from my patch review because I'm like, I actually
here too, right?
I think we glossed over it for maybe because we were running out of time. We're like,
not gonna see play.
Not gonna see play. Didn't see play before. Not gonna see play either. Yeah, we got that one wrong. And this is you can this will end up on Reddit when they go when this card is broken now, and they always look back to like people who do Magic set reviews and Hearthstone set, and they're like, oh, Trump gave this 1 star and it's the most broken thing ever.
Stupid Runeterrable radio guys.
I mean, for what it's worth, that sounds pretty accurate most of the time, but
but I've never been wrong, and I'm going to continue this. We weren't wrong. Everyone else is just wrong.
Yeah.
We were right. You're all just wrong for playing the deck.
I will say, digital card game players over the years, and actually just video game players in general in the age of constant updates and patches and whatnot, will blindly react to a buff or a nerf with this is good or bad now. There's not
there's no in between.
Well, let's see. Let's do the math and let's test it out. It's like, oh, this card got buffed. It must be good now. They're not going to buff it if they're not going to make it good, right? So then you start playing it, and it's like a vicious cycle, right? It's like, oh, well, they buffed Basilisk Rider. Let's play it. Oh, it's actually doing good. It must be good, right? It got buffed, and now everyone's playing it. So now it's got a huge sample size, and people are playing it, and it's like, oh, this is actually really good. But it definitely is better. If we're talking about Basilisk Rider, the going up to 4 health when it hits Allegiance is a huge breaking point, right? It's the chump wump. It's the anti-chump wump treatment. He's no longer a chump.
Yeah.
He's now a wump.
He got wumped.
He got straight up wumped. So, when you're playing your 4 cost, 6 power overwhelm, that's strong, right? I'm jumping all over the place, but this still is related to this deck. I figured out a name for that deck, by the way.
Okay. No, this is important. What is it?
Okay, so it's called 5D, and there's 2 reasons why it's called 5D. It's the Darius and Draven Dunkmaster Destruction deck. That's 5 Ds. But also, the second reason it's called 5 Ds is because you know what you need to cast in order to win a game with that deck? 5 Decimates. That's 20 damage.
Okay, why don't you just call it double D for Darius and Decimate?
Because
or Darius and Draven.
Because you need 5. You need to cast 5 Decimates to kill them. Get it? Because 5.
My opponent always has 5 Decimates, so I get that.
I just started viewing each card in that deck as a fraction of Decimate. So like, Basilisk Rider is 3 halves of a Decimate, and like, everything is a fraction of Decimates, and you need to cast. What you need to do is play 5 Decimates. That's the game.
So you're taking a pretty straightforward deck that doesn't really require math or much thought, and suddenly making it way more difficult to
I'm adding fractions
to it. Now there's a spreadsheet to go along with it. I love this. This is amazing.
I'm taking a deck where you just play the most expensive card and attack every turn, and making and doing these weird conversions into Decimate math. Yes. So harrowing is like sometimes like 4 Decimates, but sometimes I've never had more fun doing fractions than with this stupid deck.
Oh my God, we can all agree, and everyone listening can agree too. Fractions are the coolest.
It's true.
So I'm glad that you've come up with the 5D. Anyways, what were we talking about?
Okay, we were talking about Basilisk Rider. He got wumped. So now your 3 halves Decimate is no longer getting Noxian Fervored. It's no longer getting Get Excited. It's much harder for a deck like Vimer to deal with it effectively. Or Pinky in the Brain, rather. I need to keep correcting myself. It's Pinky in the Brain now. No longer will I say Vimer. It just like gives you an actual reliable threat that will at the very least be trading and getting 1 damage in, because stupid Braum will block it with 5 health. Because Braum in the Bald Eagle deck, yes, but also just about everywhere else. I think I saw every combination of Braum deck on the first day of the patch.
Yeah, it's been Braum City. That's definitely for sure. Which I think is fine. I think it'll die off some, but Braum is much better.
He is super, super good. He's like one of the he serves very well to be a pillar in a lot of ways or like a bar that you have to be able to cross in order to like be playable in the format right now. If you're playing an aggro deck, go ahead.
I think the weird thing about Braum is like now he's very good. He has the Vi treatment where you need to do nothing. You don't build around him, because the more you build around him, the worse your deck gets generally.
Right.
Like you just put him in because he's solid. He stops early game aggression. He gives you bodies. He has to be dealt with. He's got regeneration. But then like the second you start putting other like Poro package crap in your deck, it just gets worse and worse.
Yeah. He really, like, you want the Poros to be good, but they're just not. That was one thing that we got right. Poros did not. Poros saw like an increase in play, but not an increase in wins.
This is related. I use Twitter a lot, right? I don't know if you guys know this. I use Twitter a lot. I tweet constantly. I sent out the saddest tweet I've ever tweeted in my entire Twitter career. What is today? Wednesday? Yesterday, I believe it was. So we had Poro Day. I dedicated an entire stream to only playing Poro decks. People who requested deck, I wouldn't play them if they weren't Poro decks.
Mm-hmm.
I had no fun that whole stream.
Oh.
I had the least fun I think I've had playing Poros. I don't know if it was a combination of all I played against was Pinky and the Brain and Stupid Elusive Aggro, which both just take a dump on them.
Yep.
Because I got Will of Ionia constantly with my big Poro stuff.
Oh, the heart of the fluff.
Yeah, I just had zero fun playing Poros, and it made me sad because I've never built a lot of Poro decks. It's one tribe I haven't explored. I was an Elnuck guy. I loved Elnuck. Poros just didn't fit my fancy, and I'm like, this could be the time. We got all these Poro buffs, zero fun all night.
Yeah,
I think I ended stream early because I was just not having fun.
That's no good. So
yeah, it was not good.
What do you think Poros need as as an archetype? Because I
think they need a payoff. There's just no payoff for playing Poros right now. Like, you need to have things that either interact with them better. Like, if we, I don't know if I said this on this show or somewhere else, but if we had like a trickster or what is it, prankster, phantom prankster, but it worked with like Poros and had stats, like that'd be insane. Like, it was a 2-mana 2/3, like an actual body.
Yeah, and
it still drained, like it hit them every time a Poro died, or when you played a Poro. Like, every time you summon a Poro, deal damage. Like, if there was some playoff or some sort of synergy with them, other than all of them are just generic bodies that you could buff with snacks and have some sort of ability, there needs to be some kind of cool reason to play them.
Yeah. We have very vanilla Poros right now, and we need different flavors to make them better.
I want chocolate Poros.
Well, because the reason I say it is because, you know, at least in recent Magic sets, like the whole like tribal theme, they kind of have toned down. I think it's like usually mostly for limited, and like sometimes it breaks through as like a tier 2 deck, or like sometimes zombies is good, but usually that's just burn with like a zombie package in it. But in the old days of Magic, or maybe the medium old days, depending on how old we're talking, goblins. Super strong deck. Goblin synergies. Elves. I mean, Elves has been a mainstay in competitive, like, eternal Magic formats for forever, right? Like, you know, Elves are making mana. They're drawing cards. They're doing these things. You're getting things based off of other Elves. And, like, I think the overarching theme is, like, they're cheap, which Poros are for the most part. But they have, like, actually strong abilities. Not like we're playing a cheap Poro that has an ability. It needs, like, if it was like there's a 1-mana Poro that was just a 1/1, but when you had 3 Poros in play, it did X or something. Like, I think that is a thing. I mean, if we had Snapcaster Poro, maybe, where
or if there was like any kind of like Poro lords where they're like, this is a Poro, well, while he's out, he gives all of your other Poros overwhelm or something like that. There just isn't right now. There's no also, like, Heart of the Fluffed is supposed to be the Poro finisher, right? But it's an unplayable card in every sense of like, at all. If you're playing that card, you're losing every time you play it. Like, I think I've won one game. I won one game out of, I think, 10 that I played that card, because it's always, everyone can deal with it. I got what is it, the Transmogrifier card?
Oh, come
Hextech,
on!
Yeah, he hit my 34, and I was so sad. I was like, the guy main decking Hextech, whatever the crap, just beat my Heart of the Fluff. I'm like, done. I'm done. This is so sad. And every single deck has Will of Ionia, even if they're not Ionia. They somehow have it.
Yep.
So it's like,
Yeah, the payoffs need to be there. I think if the Poros had enter the battlefield or play abilities, or when I'm summoned abilities, Whis abilities, they're called ETB in Magic, but what would we call them? Whis, when I'm summoned, because that's
called summoned.
Well, yeah, because there's play abilities, and then there's when I'm summoned abilities, which when I'm summoned is better, right? Because if you reanimate them or bring them back, they get the thing. So
much better.
The enter the battlefield abilities, we'll call them. They need those, right? That's just a general, like, card game thing. It's like you play a card, it doesn't impact the board, it doesn't do anything when it comes into play, it needs to be really good because, like you said, Will of Ionia, removal, all these interactive cards. It's not like Hearthstone where you've got this like buffer of your opponent has to spend a bunch of mana on their own turn, and they can't interact with it on your turn anyway. Like,
the fluff would be nuts in Hearthstone.
Yeah, it would.
Like, he'd get to
there's
attack,
there's like 2 removal spells in Hearthstone. They'd have to use They'd have to use minions to kill it, and it would be huge. It would be awesome. This is not Hearthstone, so a card like that can't exist.
It's not.
I wonder. I'd be interested to talk with a dev about that, because it's like, that's a card that I never thought about it like this, Saucy, but you bring up a really good point. That the Poros in general and Heart of the Fluff specifically would actually be a really good Hearthstone card, or at least, I mean, depending on the meta and whatnot, but it would be a much better Hearthstone card than it is Legends of Runeterra card.
It's funny because like when we first started the podcast, we compared like the game's new, right? So we're comparing every single thing to what Blevins and I know, which is Magic, because the game has similarities to Magic. I saw a really interesting conversation that made me think about this. That was talking about atrocity, and someone was saying, a Magic player was saying, "Oh, atrocity is bad because in Magic we have fling which
costs too.
It's much cheaper, blah blah blah." But then thinking, well, in Magic you also have an unlimited life total, like you can heal over 20, where you can't in this, and also in this game you have kind of like a shared turn, and like it just doesn't quite translate the same, especially with spell mana. So it's just things to think about.
Yeah, there's little intricacies that that are much, that make things much different, even though they look very much the same. I mean, this is not new stuff that we're coming across, but it is interesting to think about these cards like this. And I'm curious with a card like Heart of the Fluffed and maybe even some of the other Poros, if like that was a consideration, or is Heart of the Fluffed designed the way it is because it's meant to be like, oh, this is just like a live the dream card, and it's not really ever supposed to be playable, which is kind of fine, but is also a little bit weird because that's a little bit, I feel like, against the sort of core philosophy of what they've been designing around. So, yeah. I don't know. I was not expecting to talk this much about Poros, but I think it's an interesting conversation.
I'm okay with it.
It's the Poro Day retrospective, where we look back and talk about what went wrong with Poros. But that's an interesting, an interesting conversation that maybe we can continue when more Poros come out. Moros, two more Poros. Nope, I'm not gonna try.
Mount Targan's gonna have some good Poros. That's all I know.
That would be sweet. That would really be sweet. I heard, so the data mined stuff and like voice lines and whatnot, people are predicting that some of the champs have, or at least one of the champs, I think that's speculated to come out has some sort of like interaction with Poros, which is cool. I want to see, like,
the next content release confirmed is just Poros for every region.
Yeah,
that's all cards are Poros. So
I mean, I would be okay with that.
What if they just start slapping the Poro tag on just random garbage? Like, that'd make them
like
better.
errated things. It's like Teemo's a Poro now.
Yeah. Did they did that with some stuff? Yeah, like they put Elite on our boy Bugle Man.
Yeah, Bugler.
Big arm dude.
Big arm bugle dude.
What if, that's what we just need? Like, Cythria is now a Poro.
Which one?
All of them.
Oh,
Cythria is a Poro.
Oh, Cythria just in general is a Poro. Just like reveal, like it would be really funny because everyone, like people have really bought into the lore of Cythria and they really love her, and it's like, oh, it's this cool story of this badass soldier who like starts off as a young soldier and is like super green in the tooth. Is that the long in the tooth? No, it's green.
Long in the tooth.
It's long in the tooth. I don't even know. I don't even think that's the.
It's green in the tooth.
I don't even think. Well, there's an episode title if I've heard one. I don't even think that's the figure of speech I was looking for either.
It's not.
Because I don't actually know what long in the tooth means now that I'm thinking about it.
I think it means old.
Oh, you're right. I meant the opposite of that. I meant green in the tooth. She's very green.
Yeah, green in the tooth.
Yeah, she's very green in the tooth. And she's learning. She meets Garen and all this stuff. I'm flexing the fact that I read. Actually, I have it right here. The guidebook of Runeterrable. I read the Cythria story. And then there's like 3 progressions of her. She's the 2/2, then she becomes the 3/3, and then of course Cythria the Bold, the 6/6, and everyone is like super buying into her and the story, and it's really cool. And then they just are like, oh yeah, by the way, she's just 3 Poros stacked on top of each other, like Vincent Adult Man from Vincent Adult Man from BoJack Horseman.
I like that. I just thought of the best Poro.
Okay,
here's the one. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Shiraza the Poro.
Shiraza the Poro.
If we had to deal double damage to the Nexus Poro, come on, dude.
How about Emperor?
Come on, dude.
Emperor Poro, or not? General Poron.
Oh, okay.
Where when you play him, he is a Poro himself.
Yeah.
And when you play him, he creates 3 Aurora Borealis in your hand.
So here's the problem with Aurora Borealis, because I've been playing it a lot. That card is hard to play because it makes way too many cards.
Yeah,
like you never have the room ever.
Nope, or the mana. You never have the hand size or the mana.
Oh, I had one game where I mulliganed my hand, had 2 Aurora Borealis come into it, drew the 3rd one by like turn 4. I'm like, I can't play anything. My hand is nothing. It's just nothing.
Yeah. That's that's another card. Well, we won't go down the Poro thing. Excuse me. It's another card
Shiraza Poro. Anyways.
Shiraza Poro and Captain Poron. Easy.
Yep, green in the tooth.
Easy. And green in the tooth,
Poro.
Yeah. We got there.
Yep.
So Pinky in the Brain, aka Vimer, I had an epiphany about it. And it was while I was playing against it on ladder multiple times in a row.
Yeah.
And in the heat of my frustrations, I gained the clarity of Salt. And I have officially come to the conclusion that I'm anti that deck.
Yeah.
Before I was like, okay, it's like a control deck and people don't like getting their cards countered and people don't like playing against removal and people don't like playing against hand. Like I was thinking it was more along those lines, but it's like, well, you can attack it from a different angle. You can do, which you can play a hyper aggressive deck and do well, or at least decent against a Vimer deck. But without going into too much detail about it, I think that in and of itself, when the only answer to that deck is to go super hyper aggro underneath it, we get into a situation that we're kind of in now where it's like everyone's running either no champion elusives or Kinku elusives or whatever, or the Noxus aggro deck where it's just like, okay, I'm just going to go as fast as possible. I'm going to spill out my hand. I just need to kill them before they get their Vi in play and can kill my stuff, right? When every deck that beats that gets crushed by Vimer. Every deck that's mid-range or just like is trying to do its own thing gets crushed by Vimer, right? You're forced to either play the Vimer mirror, the Pinky in the Brain mirror, or Karma Ezreal kind of fits in the same category, but I'm just going to talk about this for the sake of it. Or play hyper aggro, and it's like it's not even rock paper scissors. It's like souped up paper and like jagged rock. Like it's papyrus and jagged rock. Ooh, that's actually a pretty good episode title too. Papyrus and jagged rock. It's like I don't feel good playing other decks, and so the actual epiphany, the moment I realized this or felt this, was after a couple of losses with different decks. Like I played an aggro deck, lost. I played a control deck and lost. And then I played Bald Eagle, and I was in a super control back and forth. And this is at Plat 2, so like not the highest rank, but for right now it's kind of high because of the reset. I'm playing back and forth, and I'm like, okay, I got this. I have this Ruination. I need to bait out at least 1, if not 2 of his denies. And if he has the 3rd one, whatever, he's playing a bad version, I'm just going to lose to the 3rd deny all the time. So I need to bait out 1 or 2 of the denies to get them. And then that's how I need to just go back and forth and play a little bit suboptimally to make him think I don't have the Ruination, right? Because he's going to fill up his board and I'm going to get a 6 for 1. I got a literal 6 for 1. Killed a Vi, killed a Heimer, killed another unit, killed 3 bots with the Ruination. In response to the Ruination, he goes, flash, flash, get excited my face, Will of Ionia the Vi, back to his hand. So when the Ruination resolves, he plays the Vi again, plays 3 of the bots that he generated for free, and it was like the 9 mana card that I spent 5 turns setting up and getting value. It just did nothing. It did actual nothing. So it was at that point that I realized that it's not just I need to play around it better and I need to set them up, because I weaved the web. Yeah. He was caught in my trap. My trap card was activated, and he just said, "I don't care."
Yeah, and I see, like you're saying, a lot of like deny doesn't even matter anymore as much in the deck, because they don't care what you do at all. They're just like, all right, yeah, you killed my stuff. I'll just play it again. Here's my 15th Vi. They don't care. They're playing solitaire and winning.
Yeah, because it's not even like, oh, we'll just kill the Heimer in response. It's like, yeah, but also all their stuff that protects Heimer costs 3 and has burst. And by the way, the biggest Omega lol looking back now is the fact that Deep Meditation was, and I'm putting massive air quotes here, nerfed so that it costs 3 when its mana cost is reduced.
Yeah.
Guess what that does? It creates another elusive bot.
Yes, like, it does. That was I think we talked about that in the show originally too. Like, if they nerf this, it's now going to work better. With
I think we jokingly said it, but it turned out to be massively true. So I bring all this up not just to vent. It's a little bit to vent and complain, because I love doing that.
It feels better.
I'm a brat. I'm a brat, and I love doing that. And I'm not ashamed to admit it. I should be, but I'm not. Yeah. I bring this up because a couple of things. Well, the main thing is we got a tweet from Steve Rubin, who, if you don't know, is the, I believe, live development lead. I'm going to double check it so I don't look like a complete idiot. He is the live design lead. I was close. But actually, that's very far different. He's the live design lead for Runeterrable. So the main person in terms of balance and card changes and whatnot for LOR. He tweeted out, and I quote, we're likely focusing more on nerfs than usual for our next patch, which will be this upcoming Wednesday, right?
Sure, it's sometime.
It wasn't this week, right? So that means it would be next week?
Sure.
Sometime soon.
That sounds right.
Whatever the next patch is, I think it's next week. It's important to circle back and address power creep that arises from new mechanics, regions, and buff-heavy balance changes. Hopefully, we can even out the efficiency over synergy meta. So, I mean, that's just kind of touching on a lot of the things we talked about. Heimerdinger, I mean, has synergy with playing cards. Like,
yeah, it's the big synergy. Do you have cards?
Yeah, the best combo in Magic is land plus Llanowar Elf. Like, that's a combo. Yeah. That's my combo.
Well, it's funny, like, because every time I play against that deck, I'm like, well, if any of his cards in his hand are cards, then I'm gonna lose. Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't even matter what they are. Like, if he has cards in his hand, I am losing, because they're gonna both make robots and buff Vi. Like, so if his cards are cards, I probably lose this game.
Yeah. If he has cards that started in his deck, I'm going to lose here.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a fine line to walk between, he specifically says efficiency over synergy, because I think it's really cool to have the synergy decks where it's like, okay, I'm playing the level up Twisted Fate deck, which, I mean, I guess that could also arguably be efficiency, but for the sake of it, it's like, I'm gonna play this, that, like, I'm just trying, or we'll use the Jinx deck, the discard strategy, right? You have that strategy where you're like playing all these cards that benefit off of discarding, or like the the ephemeral deck where it's like I've got these cards that are like a little bit wonky, but then you're playing Shark Chariots and Hecarims and all these other cards that pump up off of ephemerals. I think that's really cool to have.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't want it to all be that where it's like you're basically just putting together a pre-con of like, okay, well, we're gonna put in every ephemeral trigger card, play that, and then play like 2 other cards, and that's it. Because I think that's kind of like what Yu-Gi-Oh turned into a little bit, and it can be fun, but I don't know. But it's a very delicate balance. So I don't envy being in that position to have to balance this because like we said, Braum, just like a statted, chonky dude right now that does a lot.
Yeah.
Not really synergy though. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need it. And like I always try to I tend to like stray away from champions that don't require any build around. I like things that have like that require synergy because to me it feels cooler when you get that cool synergistic moment. Like, so I don't know. I think that's kind of one of the biggest things is like the whole deck is it doesn't matter what you draw. Like if you're playing the cards in your deck, you're probably doing well.
Right. Well,
it's really hard to misplay that deck.
Right. I think a really good example of I'll use Jinx again. I think I think Jinx is one of the best designed champions in the game. Because you can see what she does and like you don't need to build around her at all, right? Like you can just play her and like sometimes if you're playing an aggressive deck, you'll discard down your hand and you'll get your rocket and she'll level up and that'll be great. Her spell, Get Excited, helps you get there. And it's like you don't even need to do too much. But you can also play the Rummages and all the other cards that trigger off of when they're discarded, put them into play, the Flame Chompers and all those cards. Like you can augment her with synergy, and we don't and right now in this particular point in history or meta history, Jinx is really not seeing any play in competitive, but she has in the past and she's seen it in various plays. If we see in the next set there's all these like when you discard do this, and if you have no cards in your hand your cards get hugely pumped or something like that, like Jinx all of a sudden becomes really cool. And it's really interesting. I think she's like
I can see that being a mechanic, like something when played if you have no other cards in hand, do something.
Yeah,
like the 1-drop plunder dude that gets bigger if you plunder.
But
if it was like that, but like he got thick if you had no cards in hand, stuff like that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, thick butcher, not jagged butcher, thick butcher.
Yeah, thick with 3 C's.
Thick butcher.
That was eyes. That was extra eyes.
Oh, sorry. Thick butcher.
Much better, yeah.
Yeah, it hurt everyone's ears, but it was worth it.
It was way worth it.
Yeah, I think like Jinx, with the exception of maybe like a little bit of power level considerations, or Draven is another one too that I think is a good fit because it's like again. Draven is just kind of a generically good champ. I mean, back in the beta when he had 4 attack, he was the best champ in the game, or at least the most played.
He was, though.
Yeah, remember that first arena run or the first gauntlet run I did where I just noticed it every single time?
You were sad.
I was sad. Rip old Draven. Draven is another one that, like, again, you can just run him normally, but you can also augment him with synergies. And like, yes, you can augment Braum with synergies, but like you're going out of your way to play bad stuff to get him marginally better when you can just play the stuff and it's fine. Vi has seemingly no synergy whatsoever. She's just literally play cards from your hand.
Yeah.
And she gets bigger. So
yeah, and the synergy with Heimerdinger is play spells.
Yeah, play cards that are in your deck, and you will be rewarded handsomely.
Yep. Win the game, and you'll win the game.
Yeah, if you are winning the game, then win the game. Yeah, so just I mean, all in all, like I do think it like the game is still very, very fun to play. Even those matchups, I think are fun. Like we saw Kinku Elusives making a run back, swim hit legend rank or hit not legend, master rank 1 with Kinku elusives on NA. Like that deck is like that deck is eternal, right? Like it'll never go anywhere.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm gonna tag this on to the end of this whole conversation before we get hate mail, because it's gonna happen. We have nothing against people playing Pinky in the Brain. Well... Like it's a strong deck. No, like if your goal is to just win,
right,
it's a strong deck and it'll do it really well. So I like to play it because of X, Y, and Z. I don't care. Like play the deck that you're having fun with. Whatever. So I'm not hating you as a person for playing it. I'm just hating the deck that you play. And at that moment, I'm not going to accept your friend request. When you come into my stream to let me know good game, I'm going to say eat shit. So.
to be completely honest, the reason I wasn't playing Pinky in the Brain myself is because I didn't want to play mirror matches.
I hate mirror matches. They're the worst.
I don't want to play the mirror match when I know for a fact it's going to be 50% when I don't know the key to winning it. When you're playing a mirror match and you know what the key to the matchup is versus your opponent, like it is you can get massively in favor.
Oh yeah.
But when you don't, it's kind of like a 50-50, and sometimes it's actually probably on average worse than that, because some people are going to know it better than me, at least right now in my knowledge of the deck. So that's why I'm like, I just don't want to play mirror matches for that right now, because it's going to feel draw dependent to me, even though I'm pretty sure it's not, and I'm just misevaluating cards, and I just don't like learning that on the fly on ranked is hard to stomach. Even though it's good practice and whatnot, it's hard for me to stomach because I can't play 100 games a day, unfortunately. So I don't know. I'm just venting. All in all, I think the meta is in an interesting spot. I think for tournament meta specifically too, where there's multiple decks, this kind of evens and balances itself out a little bit. And there actually were in the Giant Slayer Fight Night Legends event, there were a lot of different decks. It was a 2-deck format. And I think we saw a few Vimers, but it was a few like the debut of Bald Eagle. And then we saw some like Bilgewater burn decks. There was some no, there wasn't Kinku elusives. There's a bunch of other Ash Noxus is still like Winding God, one of the best players in the world, playing the Ash Noxus deck still, like the old, like just pretty much the same exact deck as it was before the patch. Like there's still a lot of decks out there, and right now I'm sure my goggles are painted by the experience I had on like the first 2 days of the new patch. So I don't know. I'm just venting a little bit. So I'm sorry, everyone who's probably like, who's listening to this in a week and being like, dude, those decks aren't even played anymore. Like there's like 3 other decks, you idiot.
It could be literally tomorrow. Like, who's playing that crap garbage deck? Like, it gets countered so hard by this new deck.
How come you're not playing Poro elusives? You missed it. It's P&Z Freljord Poros, you fools.
Yeah. I mean, elusive is a thing that can be on a Poro.
Yeah. So I think that's all the topics that I had for the episode. Saucy, is there anything else that we want to talk about or bring up?
No, I don't think so. I thought this was pretty good. I talked about all the things I wanted to.
Kind of a riffer episode. Jumped around a little bit, but it was our 30th, Saucy. I mean, come on. It had to be the most.
We get to be. This is the most geriatric episode where we forgot what we were talking about at all times.
Did I tell you back when I was playing Kinku elusives in the beta patch, and Raynad said Teemo was the best aggressive card into the game? Okay. Yep. That's pretty much it. Saucy, where can people find you on the internet?
I don't remember. No, you can find me. My website's saucymailman.com. I'm Saucy Mailman on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, all the places. I play games of Legends of Runeterra.
Yeah. You can find me on the internet at _Blevins on Twitter. And of course, you can find us over at discord.me/Runeterrable Radio. Twitter.com/Runeterrable. And if you're looking for tournaments and such, you can follow Giant Slayer LOR on Twitter. I am casting every Friday for those, if you want to see me cast some games. And then there's always weekend tournaments. So if you're in the tournament, if you're looking for the tournament scene, you can find them on the weekends. And myself and Casanova are usually casting those. Between the two of us, we're usually casting those. So check those out. Check out the show. Join the Discord. I mean, seriously, though, like, if you haven't joined the Discord already, what are you doing? It's the best place to be. You can keep up on everything that both of us are doing. Keep up with the community. There's all sorts of community resources in there. It has really grown to a crazy place in a really good way. So discord.me/Runeterrable Radio. You can also go to DeckPics.Live. We still want to see your new decks and all that good stuff. But for Saucy, I'm the Blevins, and we will be back next week to talk about some more Legends of Runeterra here on Runeterrable Radio.